Look at modern crypto markets or the latest tech startups, and you see staggering fortunes generated in months. Wealth creation today feels almost instantaneous. That intense appetite for quick returns spills directly into tangible assets. Everyday housing markets behave like trading floors, heavily leveraged and flipped for fast profit. There is a specific psychological pattern to this kind of sudden, widespread prosperity. This manic pursuit of paper wealth has played out to its absolute limit, exactly once before. In the 1920s, American markets were booming. Everyone wanted in on the action. But looking back at that era forces us to ask, is our current growth built on a solid foundation, or are we simply reinflating a century-old mirage? When the reality of that 1920s mirage broke, the devastation was absolute. People who were paper millionaires on a Monday were destitute by Tuesday. Millions lost their jobs before they even understood what had happened. This economic collapse refused to stay contained within American borders. It triggered a global chain reaction, leaving millions across the world without food, work, or shelter. We call it the Great Depression. Today, shielded by complex financial instruments, we assume we're immune. But are we actually living in a sustainable new economy, or walking blindfolded into the exact same trap? To answer that, we have to look at the mechanics of the failure. The 1920s boom was built heavily on borrowed money. Investors took out huge loans to buy stocks, driving corporate values far beyond what those companies actually earned. Markets running entirely on debt require one thing to survive: absolute investor confidence. In October 1929, that confidence shattered in a single day. The immediate side effect of that broken trust was pure panic. Citizens rushed to their banks and demanded their cash. But because the banks had gambled that money in the markets, the vaults were empty. As the banks closed their doors for good, businesses lost their capital and folded. The result was a seemingly endless line of men standing in dirt lots, waiting for jobs that no longer existed. The 1929 collapse exposed a total failure in the machinery of finance, where high leverage collided with a sudden collective loss of faith. Now, run those exact variables against today's economy. Modern markets are floating on extreme levels of personal and governmental debt, far surpassing the leverage seen a century ago. And just like the 1920s, current market valuations, especially in tech and emerging sectors, are rarely based on concrete revenue generation. They are held up almost entirely by collective belief. We felt a severe tremor in 2008 when the housing market collapsed under the weight of bad loans. But compared to 1929, that crisis was structurally smaller and highly concentrated in real estate. The mechanisms driving our current markets remain unchanged from a century ago. We operate a system fueled by rising debt, resting on the same foundation of investor belief. So if the blueprints are identical, why hasn't the entire system collapsed again? The difference lies in our institutions. Today's central banks have the legal authority and financial muscle to forcibly inject trillions of dollars into the system at the first sign of a panic, ensuring banks don't run dry. In 1929, communication was slow, and the government stood back. Today, rapid institutional intervention acts as an immediate safety net, catching falling markets before the panic can effectively spread. But a safety net is just a shock absorber. It prevents the immediate crash, but it does absolutely nothing to fix the underlying pressure of the massive debt bubble resting above it. To provide that safety net, central banks create neat digital currency to buy up debt and keep banks liquid. As this massive volume of new money enters circulation, the existing currency is diluted, causing the cost of living to rise. To fight that inflation, governments have no choice but to start raising interest rates. This deliberately chokes off the supply of cheap money that fueled the tech and real estate booms in the first place. As the flow of cheap debt stops, companies scale back, the nature of modern jobs becomes volatile, and the perceived security of the middle class begins to erode. We haven't actually engineered risk out of the economy. By using advanced technology and aggressive central banking, we have just forced that risk out of the stock market and pushed it directly onto the cost of everyday survival. History enforces one law: markets breathe in cycles. Periods of massive debt-fueled euphoria stretch the system to its breaking point, requiring a painful reset. The photographs from 1929 provide a physical record of the human cost that occurs when societies assume a period of debt-fueled growth can continue indefinitely. The goal right now isn't to guess the exact date the music stops. It is to look at the leverage, recognize the historical pattern, and ask yourself a very simple question. Are you ready for when the cycle repeats?